Hi, picking up where we left off in the last lesson, we're going to create the front door hatch of the boiler section. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to go to the left viewport, hit L. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You can see it's just like it's going to encompass the boiler section. It has a couple of nice details on it. And I think we're going to try to do this with the splines again, and maybe do some Bezier work just to get used to using Bezier curves. So we're going to go to Shapes, Line. We're going to make sure that the initial type is corner and the drag type is Bezier, which it is. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to click and drag out, and wherever we see the profile move, we're going to click. You can hold shift to constrain this. I'm holding shift right now and it's keeping my angles at 90 degrees. And now, after this last click, we want a little curve to this. So what I'm going to do now is click, drag. See, it's creating a curve. Now I'm going to extend. I'm going to come out to here. I'm going to click and drag again. I'm going to come down, click. Just follow this profile. Now it may be a little hard to see. So if I hit F3 once in a while, you'll see what's going on. And you can adjust this later. It's not something that has to be perfect the first time around. Okay, I'm going to constrain again. Click. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of a Bezier. So what happens is I'm going to find a midpoint. I'm going to click, and with the mouse button held, I'm going to drag the mouse. And you can see it's making a curve. I'm going to hit F3 so I can find the center. I'm going to go to there and click. Now that doesn't look so good, but it's not a big deal. So we go to vertex under the line. This is a Bezier. We're going to click this little select and move tool. And what happens is a Bezier curve has these handles, these little green dots. There's one way out here, one here. And they're a little hard to work with if you don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to show you how to do it. These arrows on the gizmo, you have this red for X. If I click that, when I grab a Bezier handle, I can now move in that axis, which is what I'm doing right here. Now, if I click on this green arrow for the Y axis, I can lengthen and shorten the length of this Bezier handle. So by grabbing one of these points and pulling it, you can see that that really made a huge difference on how this looks. And that looks more like what I'm expecting and what I'm wanting out of the result. So with that done, that looks good. If you want to, you can once again click on X and you can adjust if you like. I actually like it pretty much where it was. I don't want it to be perfectly straight here either. So right now this point looks like it's a little behind that point. I'm going to click on that point, pull it out just a touch. I'm going to back out and see how that profile looks. It looks good, but I'm not sure about right here. Same situation. We're going to select this vertice, and if your manipulator, the handles here are in your way, on your keyboard you can use the minus to reduce the size of it, and the plus to increase the size of it, so that you can see what you're doing. And that's pretty good right there. So I'm going to hit the X. I'm going to try moving this way, and I don't like that, so I'm going to hit Control Z to undo. I'm going to go back to the Y-axis. I'm going to grab that handle. I'm just going to pull it down a little bit, and that looks much nicer. I really like what happened there. Now if I back out, that's now the profile of the door, and I think it's good for the time being for the purpose we need it for. And we can always later on add an edit poly to change the geometry or whatever we need to do. So I'm going to click out of the line. I'm going to just click that minus to collapse it down. And what we're going to do is save the file, because I haven't been telling you enough to save files. Click that little diskette, save the file, save often. I'm going to go into the modifier list and hit L for lathe. And you can see it's in the wrong direction. I believe it's on the Y-axis. Let's try the X, I believe is what we need, which it is. Still does not look correct. You want to use align and use the max setting. And it still does not look as expected, so let's expand the lathe, click on the axis, and now with the manipulator, let's just roll that down. And what you want to do is have the bottom edge here encompass the boiler, which is about there somewhere. I'm going to hit the P key for perspective, F3 so we have a shaded view. And once again, it looks dark in the viewport. So if you roll up over here under parameters, let's click off flip normals this time. Now you can see what you're working with. It doesn't look too bad. A little dense in some areas, but you can fix that later with the edit poly. You can actually add an edit poly and remove edges, which I'll show you now. But I'd say for the most part that if we let's select the boiler as well. So I'm going to top a stack. I'm holding Control and selecting, and now I'm going to hit Alt and Q. I'm going to hit F4 to hide the wires. Okay, so now we can see the boiler with the front section. It looks pretty good. So I'm good with that. We're going to exit isolation, and we're going to select this. And let's Alt Q again just to isolate this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back down to the line. I'm going to go to vertice, and you see we no longer see what the shape is, but we can turn on toggle end result. Just click that, and now we have our line with the vertices as well as the final mesh, because we're showing the lathe in the viewport, but we can still edit at this level. So under line, click on a vertex like this one, which is what I want to adjust. We're going to pull it downward so that there's no real hole there, which is what we just did. That looks better. I want to just see. I think it looks pretty good. I think maybe the lathe value at 42 is good. Again, we have to keep in mind we're going to have a lot of geometry in the scene and the distance that we're viewing at. So if I back out a little bit, that's looking pretty clean. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just alter the model. I'm going to hit F4 to show you the wireframe. And above this lathe, I'm going to hit E on the keyboard in the modifier stack, the rollout rather, and we're going to go to Edit Poly. Once again, we expand it. We go to Edge. I'm going to select this edge, Alt and L for a loop. Scale tool. You can hit R on your keyboard, or you can move. You save a lot of time by not going up to the top of the screen and back down to the middle. So I like to use R for scale, E for rotate, and W for move. And these are the same in Maya. So let's hit R. That's for scale. And we'll go to the middle of the gizmo. I'm going to hold Shift as we did earlier. And we're going to click, hold down the Shift key, hold down the mouse key, drag, and that makes a little lip. And that's good because where the boiler meets this, we want to have a little back edge so that it doesn't look like it's hollow. So that helped. The other thing we're going to do is, as we did earlier, we're going to select some edges, and maybe this one. We're going to do a loop selection, Alt and L, and we're going to do a chamfer. So I click chamfer, move that a little so you see better. And this time around, that 1-inch chamfer looks too big. So I'm going to just slide it down. It's not a big deal. We're going to add a section or two. And that looks good. Now what's cool about this is that you can, on the fly, decide that I like the way this looks, I like the value, and you can add another edge. So I'm just going to hold down Control and click this edge. You see that doesn't look correct. It's actually only doing that one edge in addition to all of these edges. But now if I do Alt and L again, now both of those rings, or loops rather, are getting the chamfer value that's in the chamfer dialog. So that worked out well. Now for me, I think we also need the front side. So Control, click that edge, and Alt and L for a loop selection. It looks very good. I'm going to say OK. And now I'm going to go to the top of the Edit Poly. I'm going to zoom out a little, hit F4. You can also hit J to hide the bounding box. It's kind of annoying sometimes, and you can even set that as a preference by making an empty scene without your models having a bounding box. But if you hit J, hides that bounding box. And now we see what we have. I think that looks good. Let's save that again. Got to remind you to save. And let's go in here. We have a couple crisp edges, kind of CG looking. I'm not happy with those. We're going to expand the edit poly, go to edge level. Let's select this one, Alt and L for loop. Let's go back to chamfer. Looks good. I'm going to say OK. Or you know what? Instead of saying OK, let's do the same process again. Control, click this edge, Alt and L, and on the fly we're chamfering another set. I like the way it looks. If we wanted it bigger or smaller, adjust the values. Green arrow for green check mark for OK. Once again, we'll go to the top of the stack. Let's back out a little bit. Looks very good. Now, let's select the model again. You can add a smooth modifier, not turbo smooth, not mesh smooth, just a simple smooth. We're being mindful of the poly count because people are going to have to work with this in an animation possibly. And there we go. We add the smooth, auto smooth. It looks very good. If we need more segments, we can still edit down at the base level because everything in the stack is intact. That's another good thing to do. When you work with other people, keep the stack intact. This way, as they work with your models, if they need to make an edit and they're capable, they can just go into the stack and make changes. It's a great way to work with other people. You have to always keep in mind that you're not the only person working with these models. Which reminds me now of another thing we need to do. We need to come in here, let's exit isolation, and we need to start naming our models. So this model, right now, we're going to click out in space, click on the model, and we're going to name this model. We're going to call it I'm going to pause the video here and pick up in the next lesson where we left off. Thanks again.